Okay, a viewer asked me how to connect separated edges which are on the same sheet. Like in this case, here is an edge here, and how can I connect them on the same sheet? After showing this technique, I will show some further tips and tricks along the way. But first, let me show you this one. Select both edges, Shift D, bring them up. What I like to do first before making the loft is squeezing them along the relevant axis. So in this case, it's the Z axis. I press S, Z, 0. So when I look from the side view, they are nice and flat. And after that, in control point mode, I select both endpoints and simply press L for loft. In this case, let's stay at G2. Join these three curves, pressing J. Go to this one, to the solid, press F, delete redundant topology. If these are imprinted curves or isoparam curves, I mean, these have to be imprinted. Isoparam curves don't look like this. Anyhow, if they are curves which were projected afterwards, after the sheet or the solid was created, you can delete them. If they aren't structural curves, which are part of the sheet itself, and then you simply imprint this one on the solid. So go to solid mode, select this guy, Shift I, select the curve which you want to imprint, and there you go. And from here you can duplicate again the imprinted curve with the curvature and do whatever. But if you want to cut the solid, you have to go a different route anyhow. So let's delete this imprinted one. Let's select the solid in solid mode, press C for cut, then the curve. It gives you an error, failed to cut body into sections, and that's probably because the endpoints has to exceed the shape of the solid. So in control point mode, let me show you what I mean. This guy, this control point has to be somewhere here. But you can see right away that it gives me an error when I try to pull this guy. And that's because this curve first has to be rebuilt in order to be editable. If I press OK, unsupported curve type, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's make it a supported curve type by selecting this guy. Look for rebuild. Of course, you can give all these commands shortcuts, but I leave them this way so I can show you where they are in this command field. So rebuild curve. Yeah, and leave them at refit. That's completely fine. Press OK. And now you are able to move the endpoints. But first of all, let's try again to cut, and probably it will give us the same error. Target body was already selected. Select the cutter, this one, and it gives us again the same error, and it's because of the reason I mentioned. So select the endpoint. Now that we have rebuilt this curve, we can comfortably drag the endpoint along the y-axis like so. Boom. And if we now cut, so select the solid, press C for cut again. Now you can see that we were able to cut it. But I want to show you something else. If you know my short tutorials, you know that I am not a big fan of redundant edges. Let's see how we can avoid these edges. As you remember, this curve consists of 3 segments. That's the first one, the second one, and here's the third one. Unjoin it, Alt J, and now you can see that we have again reproduced 3 curves out of this one. So let's delete these edges, we don't need them. And the points where these curves connect are the points where the redundant edges are created. So in order to avoid these edges, we leave this one as one single curve, dragging the endpoints of this one single curve out. So it's literally one curve, not a combination of 3 curves. So G, Y, and here also. Let's drag them along the y-axis. And if you now go ahead and press Alt J for unjoining, you will see that there is nothing to unjoin because that's a natural single curve. And if we now select the solid, press C and select the cutter, our natural single curve, and press OK and delete the solid, you can see that we have a clean cut. And I go back till the point where we have dragged these endpoints out. So now it's again a short curve. If you want to keep this curvature, you can also use the extend curve command. So look for extend curve. Let's type in a value, let's say 2 meters, or let's type in 4 meters. And here you can see different type of continuities. So that's the natural one, the linear one. The linear one is the one I'm going for. And I will do the same here on this end. Select the endpoint, look for extend curve. I have discussed this extend curve thing in another video also, but repetition is key. Here again, linear, okay. And again, if you try to unjoin it, there is nothing to unjoin because it's still a natural single curve. So select the solid, C for cut, select the cutter. And here you have a clean cut, no redundant edges and a single curve. So no redundant junk here on this side also.